We've talked about how to start a good story. Not sure if we've covered the middle parts, but we've had specific requests for the end. So, we're going to talk about ending a story or a book and what you need to keep in mind when you do it. Because it's I Should Be Writing Season 18, Episode 15. Yes, 15.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
And hi there. Welcome to I Should Be Writing. This is a podcast for wannabe fiction writers. I am your host, Mer Lafferty. My pronouns are she, her. I've been doing this podcast since 2005 and I had not sold anything. And now I'm about to put out my 6th book this fall. And I'm very excited because the cover was unveiled today. So I've been putting that up in the live stream and it'll be on the website as well. But yes, I live streamed this podcast twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday at 3 o'clock, and then my fantastic producer cleans it up and we put it in the podcast feed. That's how things work these days. But in the feed, or in the chat, Phased Out just redeemed something that broke. A lot of my automated stuff just broke. It's like I spent time before the stream to try to fix them, and in trying to fix them, I broke them. Oh no, I figured it out. Okay, I think I need a button for that. There it is. Okay, yes. Word count today is 1549. February total is 7814. A Swarm of Cuckoos, which is the work in progress working title, 25,378. And in 2022, total words 29,193. It feels like the book word count feels a little disingenuous because I spent a lot of time this week working on an outline and now I'm trying to clean up from the beginning on to make it a cleaner first draft as I go. Usually not what we suggest new writers do, but if you're a pro and you know how to, or if you know how to finish a book, and you're not a pro, anybody who can actually finish a book, it makes sense to go back and get a stronger start if you know. I had a person going through a scene, and clearly I wrote parts of the scene in different days, because one day she's wearing an entire environmental suit that protects her, and she's walking through red methane snow. And then in another paragraph, she's got like a hat and a rebreather, and that's it. So, yeah, I'm glad I went back to do that, but there are words I have to throw away. I'm keeping those words in a separate document, or rather a separate thing on Scrivener, because they're words I wrote, dang it, and I want credit for them, but I'm probably not going to use them. And if I wanted to know the real compile of the book, it would probably upset me. It'd probably cut about 500 words so far. Not 500, 5,000. But I haven't looked at that number yet because I'm just trying to increase my word count, feel good about the book, and get moving. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. We got posture check. I'm sitting as straight as I can because even though the good news is I did get the good camera working, it's about in the most ideal place I can get it now. And I have to make sure I don't slouch, because if I slouch, I'm going to be down here. So, yeah, still got to figure that out. And thank you for the hydrate. Okay. Okay, so we're here for good news. It is good news time. If you have good news, please let me know in the chat. Let me know via email. We do have an email good news, I'm excited to say. I will be pulling that up as you guys speak up in chat. And remember, around here we cheer for rejections. Because even though rejections are kind of bad news and they hurt, working writers get rejections. And people who don't get rejections are usually not working writers. So, it says dress for the job you want. Well, you're getting rejected, which is part of the job you want. That's not the best part of the job, but it's part of the job you want. And you just got to remind yourself that if you want to be a pro writer, you're going to get rejected. If you go in there with that mindset, then you're going to have... It's going to be easier and easier to face disappointment. Star-Eyed Green, 2 rejections. Congratulations. Gonna do the confetti. By hand again. Let's see if the reject button works. Yes, okay. And 42 rejections. So, congratulations. That's very cool. Christian Writing got your first rewrite request. That's amazing. That's awesome. And just to make it clear, somebody was asking me to clarify something I've been saying on the podcast regularly, and they didn't know what it was, and so I'm going to try to be better with my clarity. When somebody asks you for a rewrite request, they're basically saying, this is really good, but there's a part of it that is kind of broken, and I don't want to publish it because of that. But if you change that part, then I will consider it. Note that this usually, 99% of the time, will come from requests. Like, if you get a rejection and the editor says, I didn't believe in the motivation of the character, they don't want you to fix the character and send it back. You gotta specifically be invited to rewrite and send back in. So, this is, it's not a yes, but it's not a full no. So congrats, Christian Writing. Very glad for you. Librarian Writer Geek is mostly keeping up with your writing schedule. That's pretty awesome. Just getting that realization that I let my routine kind of fall apart and I need to get back to it. I say this the day before I'm going out of town for a convention, which is kind of funny. I'm so funny. I remember to eat so far today, unlike yesterday, at least starting Scrivener in hopes of writing shards. It amuses me greatly that you like to write while the live stream is going on, and it amuses me even greater that it works. So I really hope that you're getting a lot of words down. Shauna has written over 16,000 words this year, which is way more than you've written in the last 10 years combined. That's amazing. That is so cool. And thank you for the follow. No muse needed. Welcome. We'll do another bit of confetti. Space Valkyries is waiting on 2 submissions here. One's an 80-day average response, but the other said by March, so fingers crossed. And yay, either way, you're doing the work, Space Valkyries. You're doing the job that you have to do, and that's amazing. Because there's a lot of us who don't like it. We don't like that part. I'm looking for the good news email. Right. Aha. Brian says, I would like to report my first short story sale of the year. Stick with it, everybody. All those rejections are worth it, Brian says. So, excellent for Brian. We got the yay button going on. We got the confetti coming down. And you know what, Brian? I really appreciate your message to everybody else. Because that's a good feeling to know that they've made it across that chasm that you dread, and they're on the other side going, come on guys, come on, you can do it. I don't know why it became a chasm, but it did in my head. Wrote the first 2 paragraphs of a new story last night. I wonder where it's going to end up. Is that a good wondering or a bad wondering? Is that like a fun thing or... Okay, it's a good wondering where it's going to go. Awesome, because that leads me into the topic today. So, we've talked a lot about various parts. I am annoyed because one of my favorite craft books is Beginnings, Middles, and Ends by Nancy Kress. And I recommend it frequently. Nancy Kress kind of old guard science fiction writer. You know, the kind that tries to be very helpful and might say a problematic thing here and there and just be completely oblivious, but she's written a lot of good craft stuff in the meantime. And she's really good on a panel. She goes up there with like this ease of experience, and I was on a panel with her at Worldcon, and I was just like amazed that I don't even know. It's like I've been doing it a long time too. Not as long as she has. And she just kind of controlled the room. She said all sorts of interesting things in just her introduction. But I'm getting way off topic. Beginnings, Middles, and Ends is one of the best books I've read for just the sections of a story. So I was looking for that so I could flip through it and give you some actual wisdom, and I can't find it. So I'm basically going off of my experience, and I just recently have been looking at the Save the Cat beat sheet again. And I'm going to be talking about a little bit of what I've learned as an editor. So we can go for... I'll start with what to go for as an editor. On Escape Pod, we just ran a story called Tony Roomba Saves the World? I can't remember what it was. It's like one of the cuter stories we've written about a Roomba who's actually an alien, and it's the day the alien must go back and report to his home planet, and there are bad guys following him who want him not to go back to the home planet, and then there's the cat who sits on him that won't get off. And Tony Roomba's last day on Earth, thank you, Starred Green. So when I was reading it was awesome because it taught me something about myself. Because I've always thought I'm the kind of person who doesn't like ambiguous endings. Some stories take it literally. The journey is the most important part. And sometimes they don't even tell you what the ending is. And it's not even a Lady or the Tiger thing. It's just we're going to... God, I'm sorry. I'm not thinking fast on my feet. I'm just trying to think of if two people are in an argument about where they're going while they're in the car, the story would be about the argument, and when they got there, you wouldn't know what happens when they get out of the car. But the argument was the story. Things like that. I know that's very boring, but it's what I came up with on the fly. And I don't like those kinds of stories. I do. I sometimes makes me feel simple or not a very complex reader or writer, but honestly, I don't like the ambiguity that much. But then, when I was reading Tony Roomba, the story is, like I said, an alien who has to get out of the apartment and to the extraction point. The message he's taking back is these are intelligent people, or at least intelligent cats, and we should not attack. Only there's so much work in getting there. Most of the stress of the story is, will he get to the extraction point? He's being attacked. He's got another person there, or rather another alien there who can't really help him, but is like shouting things to him. And spoiler, it's a short story. Don't kill me. He makes it to the extraction point. Hortense, the cat, goes with him. That's another kind of up in the air. Is she helping him? Is she hurting him? Is she slowing him down? Is she trying to help him or hurt him? And, she comes through at the end and helps him get to the extraction point and jumps on top to go with him. What the author does not resolve is whether the Earth's going to be invaded or not. And I realized that was an ambiguity I was okay with. Because the immediate conflicts were get to the extraction point and escape whoever's chasing him, and figuring out the relationship with the cat. Those two things were resolved. So when it comes to tying up loose ends, my personal thought is to take your various conflicts, and hopefully even in a short story you should have more than one, and resolve the most important one. And then if you resolve that in a satisfactory way, you can leave ambiguity in other places. Maybe a person has resolved an issue with their parent, but you don't know if they're going to get the date with the person they wanted to go out with. I'm really bad at coming up with these on the fly. I'm sorry. It sounds good in my head. I really do. So that's the thing about ambiguity endings. And I could be wrong. If you really like the stories where the journey is the story and the ending, it's not so much important, and you feel comfortable writing those, then go for it. Because there's a lot of people who like that kind of thing. Those are often the kind of stories that win awards. But, I mean, there's a reason why the metaphor is often has to do with string. Because I like a good yarn, and I like it to be tied up at the end with few dangling threads. I'm going to check in with chat real quick. I struggle starting things. Yeah, beginnings are... Often people have one of those three sections that is the horrible, really hard on them. For me, it's kind of middles. The end of the story shouldn't feel like the world ceases when the last word is read. It should feel like life keeps moving on unless the world ends in the story, of course. Yes, that's a good point. There's always the next day. And I think that's what the musical Into the Woods is about. It's about what happens after Happily Ever After. I've mentioned this recently in studying various genre things. Romances have to follow one of two rules. It either has to have a happy ending or a happy for now ending. So maybe you don't know what's going to happen to this couple next year. Maybe you don't know if whatever was going to keep them apart, and so they were trying not to have the relationship, maybe you don't know if that's going to happen. I'm thinking like troop deployment or parents moving away or something. But you know they're happy for now. So that's where that comes from. So I have been looking at the Save the Cat beat sheet again and trying to apply it to different stories. I thought that she did a Save the Cat beat sheet. One thing that's great about Jessica Brody is she wrote this awesome book and did so much research. And now she still keeps her blog up, and she gives the Save the Cat beat sheets for books that she's reading. And I am reading The Maid right now. It's by Nita Prose. Nita Prose. And she just posted the beat sheet for The Maid, and so I've been really, really interested in reading it with that in mind. So there's the finale is the beat that we're talking about. You've got the hero, all is lost, dark night of the soul, trying to gather themselves and come back and be stronger, unless it's a tragedy, win in the end or fulfill what they need instead of what they want, etc. But the finale actually has 5 parts, and I recommend looking at the book or seeing if you can find it on her blog, because like that one beat has 5 other beats, and it's really obvious in, say, Harry Potter 1, because in the end, the climax finale needs to be like a little short story of its own, because it's got to have gathering the people together who are going to do the whatever in the finale, and then trying something and then failing, the whole, hey, we shot the bad guy, everything's fine, oh, the bad guy gets up kind of thing. So there's the setup, and then there's the attempt, and then there's the fail, and then there's coming back, Dark Night of the Soul, and then there's the win. So getting those beats, it's harder in a short story. I will say that. You've got to bring across a lot more emotion with fewer words. Not more emotion than a novel, but you have fewer words with which to do this. But you've probably set up a story that doesn't need a hugely intricate 7,000 word ending. But if you think about that, think about when it comes to like thrillers, we think of it as the twist somewhere in the finale. But even then, it's usually you think that everything's going to go great. And you've gone through the Dark Night of the Soul. You're feeling good. You've got your friends or your companions or your allies together, and you're moving forward. And then you get knocked down again. Not knocked down as bad as you did in the middle, but you get knocked down again, and then you have to get back up. And following those beats might help you know where you are in the finale and when to stop. Because a lot of people don't know when to stop. A lot of people don't know where to start either, but we'll talk about beginnings another time. My mentor, James Patrick Kelly, told me something one time that I thought, it's one of those things that sounded really wisdomous, but I've never done it. And I'm a little embarrassed about that. But he says, when you get to the end of a short story, you need to think up 10 possible endings. And like the first 3 or 4 will come through pretty obviously. The next 3 or so will be a little harder. And then the last 2 or 3 are going to be like pulling teeth. But they'll probably be your most creative work. So the best ending might come out of those last 3 ideas you get. I've never tried this before. It sounds good. James Patrick Kelly is a very, very good short story writer. There's not a lot of people these days who kind of specialize in short stories anymore. John Chu might still. I'm not sure. Oh, I might see him this weekend. He lives in Boston. That's cool. Anyway, I'll ask him if he's still doing short stories or if he's trying to pivot to novels. When I was at Viable Paradise with John, but he was kind of dismayed that he was the only person not workshopping a novel. He was workshopping short stories. Gonna try not to spill coffee on myself. Looking at chat, I wish there were even more beat sheets out there for books I read. Maybe I should fill a sheet out for them after I finish reading to analyze the stories. Meerkat says that's often suggested as homework on Writing Craft podcast. I've often thought this and have not done one. There's a lot of best practices that we don't do because they take time. I know for a fact, because I've narrated my own stuff, that the best way to find mistakes in your work is to read it aloud. Do I do it? No. I probably should, but I don't. So yeah, it's up there with flossing, You know it works. Still don't do it. And by you, I mean me. But I just got a clean bill of health from my dentist, so something's working. I don't know. Ted Chiang. Oh yes, Ted Chiang, of course, writes a lot of short stories. I haven't seen any novels from him. I don't think so. Yeah, Ted Chiang, amazing short story writer. Amazing. Ken Liu used to also be a short story writer, but he started doing novels with Saga. Ted Chiang writes one short story every few years, and they're brilliant. Lord only knows how long a novel would take. Novels are... It's a different beast. With novels, you can afford a slip up here, a little break in the action, a little bit, the story slows down a little bit too much there. But with a short story, you've got to hit all the parts and be awesome. You don't have a lot of time to tell your story, or words anyway. And I don't talk about this enough, but I really think there's a lot to be said for trying to see how other people handle it. I'd be happy to talk about any topic, but if you have a question about how do you pull off second person, I'd say, well, go read The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. She's the only person who I have not almost literally chafed at second person. Second person is very hard, and a lot of people don't do it well. So I would say, go and read her stuff. When it comes to endings, some people say they don't like the fact that now that they're trying to learn how to write a book, they're not enjoying reading as much. Which is, I can see how that would be kind of sad. But on the other hand, if you're paying attention, you can learn a lot. So, if there's an ending that just makes you feel so incredibly happy, and I don't mean like funny or it was 100% positive, but just that was a very satisfying ending to a very awesome story, study it. See what they did. See what parts you reacted to. The more I learn about writing, the more I enjoy reading. That's interesting, Daniel. That's good to hear. But yeah, when in doubt, look at your favorite stories. See what they did. I think I'm going to go ahead and end this for the podcast. The books I mentioned are Save the Cat Writes a Novel by Jessica Brody, Beginnings, Middles, and Ends by Nancy Kress, and I think that's all the ones I mentioned. You can look up Save the Cat beat sheets if you like that kind of structure. That's right, I think I interrupted myself and didn't finish a thought. She mentioned She Spoils and Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, but there's not a lot of mention in the book about And Then There Were None, and I think And Then There Were None has a very different structure than anything else I've ever read. If you haven't read And Then There Were None and you like mysteries, I recommend it with the caveat of problematic Agatha Christie writing from the 1930s. There's a lot of classism, some racism, definitely some sexism, but still, that is a murder mystery that is just mind-blowing. It's amazing. But I don't see how it follows the Save the Cat beat sheet. I don't. So, if anybody finds it, like I've searched for it, I couldn't find it. That's how I found the fact that she just did the beat sheet for The Maid. I think she did a good job with second person. There was an actual reason for it. Oh, I see. Thank you, Numbers Ninja, of course. Tamsin Muir did second person with Harrow the Ninth. Meerkat says, to be honest, I did not finish Harrow the Ninth, only partly due to the second person. Harrow the Ninth was a difficult read for me. I will be honest. I think Gideon the Ninth was so different. And without spoiling Gideon the Ninth, you knew that some of the focus had to change on the second book. But it changed a lot. An awful lot. And even the yeah, I can't say more without spoiling either of them, but I think Harrow was harder to read, especially after coming off of the kind of rude, very amusing Gideon. So I did finish it, but it was largely forgettable. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes books just don't stick in my head. I don't remember Terry Pratchett books. I love them while I'm reading them, but then they just go out of my head. I do not know why. But yeah, Harrow, I don't remember a whole lot about Harrow except for is there going to be more than bad dreams and vomiting in the rest of the book. But yeah, I was trying to end the podcast. If you would like to find me online, mightymur@gmail.com is where you can email me, or you can look at merverse.com to find out everything I work on and how to get that. Your friendly local bookstore should have Station Eternity up for pre-order. I recommend buying from local. If you want to buy from the big boxes, I understand that too. It has a draw. It's real. And sometimes it's necessary. My socials, I'm pretty much Mighty Mur everywhere. I'm going to put that in the chat just cuz. You can subscribe to my newsletter, The Hot Mic, and you can support via Patreon or Twitch. But I stream 4 days a week on Twitch, about 3 o'clock every day. And yeah, that's about it. I will go into Boskone this weekend if you're going to be there. Would love it if you drop by to say hi. And I'm going to try to get this up before I go. I just realized that might not be possible. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so I'll see you next week, Tuesday, and you should be writing. I Should Be Writing is available to you under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Theme music by John Emilio. Art by Numbers Ninja. Production by Summer Brooks. And hosting by Libsyn. Find all of this information and more at merverse.com. And remember, we can't do this without you. Thanks for your support.
But I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.